This is Free Talk Live, and there's breaking news. We were just talking earlier tonight about the beheading videos. There had been two before we started the show, and within the last hour or two, the internet has become aware of a third new beheading video that looks very similar to the other ones. I have found what I believe to be the actual video. The audio track, however, is fairly low. I'm not at this point prepared to play it. But we will take a closer look at it here as the show goes on and see if we can get you some of that audio. I imagine it's very similar to the audio in the previous videos where the alleged
chastening they make the poor victim breathe this diatribe against the United States government and its foreign policy.
In this case, it's this new one is a message to the allies of America. The first two videos were a message to America, part 1 and 2, and essentially the same message was that, hey, we're just going to keep killing people unless you stop killing our people. Unless you stop the air raids and stop the bombings, we're just going to keep lobbing people's heads off. And
I think that's obvious, and I think it's expected by the United States government. I mean, consider for a second that the state is an organization that's intended to protect itself, and that they consider you and yours to be the people that are there to protect it. They build big bomb shelters for the president, for the senators, for the representatives, and whatever staffers that they bring in and their families. They don't build them for you. They draft when they feel like drafting, or they'll, whatever it is that they need to do. If they need to, blow up your house for some strategic reason, they do it.
We're going to go back to your calls and thoughts here, and again, we'll come back around to more on this beheading situation, which continues to develop, unfortunately, and there will be yet another victim in line, apparently, according to the early story that I read about this. Charles, listening in West Virginia to WVTS. Hey, Charles, you're on Free Talk Live.
Greetings, infidels.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I just was talking to John. I just got it across there that David Cameron, the British Prime Minister, had pretty much confirmed that was David Haines that they beheaded.
That's correct. David Haines was the next in line for the beheadings, and now he has also allegedly been beheaded.
Yes. As far as making those statements, man, die in silence. Don't give him any rebut.
Well, no, hold on. No, wait. This, you got to remember, this isn't happening in a vacuum, right? Like, they've got this guy in captivity, and it's very likely that they're saying things to him like, you either read the script or we'll kill your wife. And if somebody says something like that to you, especially if they also provide you with the address of your wife and where she lives and where her kids go to school and things like that, that could be very persuasive to make someone go ahead and just read the statement before they get killed.
I was in a situation sort of similar to that once, and I kept my mouth shut.
Well, that's vague.
I'm glad it worked out. What was the situation like?
Because my team came and got me. I was lucky.
Well, yeah, you are lucky. In this case, the family of James Foley, as we pointed out at the beginning of the show, and thanks, Charles, for the call tonight, the family of James Foley is very upset about how the federal government has been so cold and non-compassionate towards them, and they were frustrated that it didn't seem like they were doing anything for them at all. So these guys are they're being hung out to dry. Yeah,
and these guys have no reasonable expectation that the U.S. government or any other government's going to do anything to protect them. At this point, we're at beheading victim number 3. And I don't know how many more people they have of heads that they might swipe off, but they're probably looking for people. They're trying to fill the queue. And those people have no reasonable expectation that the U.S. government or any of these other governments are going to do anything to protect them. So do I think that if for whatever reason some foreign group of nut jobs decided that they wanted to go after me and my family specifically, that there's anything the U.S. government would do to protect them? Only if they really wanted to. If they really wanted to, they could put us in some kind of victim protection plan thing or whatever. But if they don't, then, that's that. The question is if it's easier for me to just go ahead and read some nonsense to protect them, I guess that I would read the nonsense.
I'm going to see if I can dub the audio from this video. As I said, it's a little on the low side, so I can't play it live off of YouTube, but I'm going to try to do some dubbing and pull up the levels here in a little bit. This is Free Talk Live. Still to come, the audio from the video. of the alleged third beheading. Now, the video version that we've found thus far does not actually contain gore as the last two videos had, where the last two videos showed what was ostensibly the body of the victim and the head of the victim sitting on top of the body. You do not see footage like that in this version of the video that I have posted on our Facebook, Google+, and Twitter, so I suspect that the one that we've posted is not the original. So if we do find the original, we will repost that for you to inspect if you care to. And if you don't care to, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all.
It's a horrifying idea that people are being executed over there, but it's also not hard to understand why it's happening. I mean, these guys are upset. The ISIS folks are upset about bombing campaigns that are killing their friends and probably family members. People are being lives are being destroyed, and so they feel like they have to take lives in response. And this is the cycle of violence.
Well, okay. They're violent as hell already. What they're trying to do...
Sure, they're a state.
They're dissuading the United States from being involved in their violence in the hopes that
they have not dissuaded them.
They have not, and they likely will not.
Right.
What they likely have done is sealed all of their death certificates with this.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that. Yes, I do.
You think the U.S. military's campaign is going to be successful against these guys?
I think that they're going to do what they're going to do. I mean, I don't think
they're going to play defense, just like the U.S. has been against defenders all this time in Iraq, and ultimately, they've had a tough time against a ragtag group of insurgents over there.
What they've done is they've killed people, created more enemies, killed people, created more enemies, but that doesn't bring back the dead people.
That's true.
So I'm claiming the people in ISIS are likely to die.
But more will join.
Not that the organization ISIS won't morph into something else, because the United States fought Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which is what ISIS was ahead of time in Iraq, helped them in Libya, helped them in Syria, and now is fighting them again in Iraq. Color me unimpressed.
Well, they haven't wiped out the terrorists yet, Mark, so I don't think they're going to be wiping them out this time, because the more people they kill...
The terrorists can't be wiped out, Ian.
That's what I'm saying. It sounded like you said the U.S. was going to wipe them out or something like that.
Yes, they are going to wipe these people out.
But there will be more of them.
That's
because
correct.
For every bomb that's dropped, for every life that is extinguished, there are people connected to those people who get upset. Rightfully so, and decide they're going to do something about it. Now, I don't believe that violence solves problems. I don't support what ISIS is doing, and I don't support what the government is doing either.
I think violence can solve problems, yes, but I don't think that it's a good solution in this circumstance, especially when you've been doing it for decades and it hasn't been working.
Well, feeding into the cycle of violence does not solve problems. It just creates more violence, which is what we're seeing happen here. One beheading results in more bombings, resulting in another beheading, resulting in no more bombings. And it's not going to end until somebody breaks the cycle and says, we're going to stop this now. And of course, the U.S. government is not going to do that.
Nope.
And I don't think the ISIS guys are going to do it either. Your thoughts
They're
are
not
welcome.
Gonna do it.
855-450-FREE. Something that you can do. You can't control what the federal government does. Your votes will not control what happens. If you vote in 2016, that likely will have no effect whatsoever on Middle East policy. They will likely continue to warmonger over there.
About the thing in Iraq, I'll say one word: crusades.
What is that supposed to mean?
It never ended. How long did it take for that? How many crusades were there? How many people got killed? And it's still going on. Those people don't like people.
Well, those people don't like people is a very generic statement, and I don't know who you mean. When you say those people, who do you mean?
The people, the Turks, the Arabs, whatever you want to call them. Because
That's a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, to make a statement like that is like saying that all Irish people are drunk, and it sounds kind of bigoted.
Only most Irish people are drunk.
It sounds kind of bigoted. Thank you, Fred, for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. People like people in a lot of cases. A lot of people like people. That's why we mostly get along in the world. There's not rampant violence everywhere because people like people, and the people they don't like, they don't have to really talk to or deal with in a lot of cases. So it's not really that big a deal of the people you don't like. You don't have to go around killing everybody you don't like. Are there extremists who don't like anyone or who hate everyone who's not in their particular religion? Sure. Those people exist, and they're Christian extremists, and they're Muslim extremists, and there are other extremists.
I think there are also cultural differences. I think that you can see different cultures react differently to different situations.
Sure, in New Hampshire, it's more likely that somebody walking by you on the street will look at you and acknowledge your presence and say hello to you.
Yeah.
Whereas in larger cities like New York, for instance, that may not be as common. That's a cultural difference, for sure.
Yeah, you're just more likely to get asked for money if you make eye contact in big cities.
Here is the audio track from the most recent video allegedly posted online within the last couple of hours by members of ISIS. It purportedly shows hostage David Haynes' beheading. Now, the video that we're going to play the audio from is 1:28 long. It's from a channel on YouTube called YouFace News, and I did put the link on our Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. You can access all three of those by going to news.freetalklive.com. And I believe this is not the full video. I suspect there's maybe a few seconds missing of possibly some slicing at the throat. If this video was made like the other ones have been, the first two, there were scenes of throat slicing, but no blood. It fades away as the slicing begins. The other videos faded away as the slicing begins. They then faded away fading into black, then from black, fading back into a shot of the corpse with the alleged victim's head perched atop of the corpse. The gore is missing from this particular video, so I suspect there's another one out there, and when we come across it, we'll let you know. But here's the audio, and that's obviously the most useful thing for radio anyway. So normally the videos start with a statement from the beheading victim prior to the beheading, and that is what this one does.
My name is David Cawthorne Haynes. I would like to declare that I hold you, David Cameron, entirely responsible for my execution. You entered voluntarily into a coalition with the United States against the Islamic State, just as your predecessor, Tony Blair, did, following a trend amongst our British Prime Ministers who can't find the courage to say no to the Americans. Unfortunately, it is we, the British public, that in the end will pay the price for our Parliament's selfish decisions.
I'm going to just stop it there before he goes on. There's nothing inaccurate at all about what he's saying here. It's the British public and the American public who are going to pay the prices for the politicians' decisions, because the politicians sure as hell aren't going to be on the battlefield catching bullets, and they're not going to be the ones getting abducted and having their heads cut off, because you can damn well better believe that if Barack Obama's wife or daughters were the ones that were being held by these militant folks, that there sure as hell would be several rescue missions put into this. They damn well would raise whatever they needed to go in there and do what they needed to.
Likely things would be entirely different, right?
Yeah. But these poor folks, the people that love the men who've been executed thus far, they have been hamstrung. They haven't even been allowed to try to raise money to pay the ransoms to get their loved ones out. They're not allowed to do anything. They can't even lift a finger to interfere with that situation. Let me continue here with the audio.
This British man has to pay the price for your promise, Cameron, to arm the Peshmerga against the Islamic State. Ironically, he has spent a decade of his life serving under the same Royal Air Force that is responsible for delivering those arms. Your evil alliance with America, which continues to strike the Muslims of Iraq and most recently bombed the Haditha Dam, will only accelerate your destruction. And playing the role of the obedient lapdog, Cameron, will only drag you and your people into another bloody and unwinnable war.
Now, at this point in the video, there's a cut. And that's, I think, where they're cutting out the gory part, whoever it was that put this video online, I imagine because they didn't want YouTube to pull it down or something like that. So that's where there's a cut. And then there's another scene where the British voiced man in the mask says something I couldn't make out when I first played it through. So, Mark, maybe you'll be able to understand him here. In the final scene, is as has been with all of the three of the videos so far, the final scene, he's got the next victim. So they've got the fourth victim sitting there, kneeling down, and they're showing who this person is. He doesn't name him at the end, but someone will probably have his name here shortly, I imagine, in the mainstream media. Here's the remainder of the clip.
Cameron, persist in fighting the Islamic State, then you, like your master Obama, will have the blood of your people on your hands.
Yeah, not really sure what exactly he says there, but the blood of people are going to be on your hands, and that much is certainly true. These politicians...
It sounds like he called Obama a name.
No, he was talking to Cameron.
Yes, but like the something Obama.
Let me play it one more time.
In fighting the Islamic State, then you, like your master Obama, will have the blood of your people.
Oh, like your master. Like your
master.
You, like your master Obama, will have blood of the people on your hands.
Got it.
So there you go, Mark. Any thoughts on the new video here?
I feel terrible about these things. They're just so awful. I guess that this is this is just sort of a reasonable expectation of what's going on in the Middle East. Yeah, they're not. A lot of these people aren't going to like your meddling. Do I like those people? No.
No, this is
I
terrible.
think that these are awful, disgusting individuals that wish to take over government. But those are the kinds of people that rise to power. I mean, take a look at our system. You have to be a narcissist. You have to be a sociopath to get into these offices of power.
Pretty much.
So in this case, are they more brutal? Yeah, they are. But the United States has killed far more people in the Middle East through bombing campaigns over the course of the last couple of decades, or last decade or so, than this ISIS has.
Well, I can't say that
of Americans, that's for sure.
I don't see how you can say that the ISIS guys are more brutal than the United States. I mean, if you just look at raw numbers of dead people, I imagine a lot of those dead people died in very brutal, horrifying manners, with various different limbs missing, and then bleeding out after having experienced a nearby explosion. That's pretty brutal too. I mean, that's sick.
Agreed, but the fact is, Americans don't see it.
That much is true.
We don't get to see these things, as opposed to not get to, but we don't have to see these things because our news media won't show it.
They'll protect
they won't
you.
show soldiers coming back in bags.
Yeah, that's why the Vietnam War ended when it did, was because the media back then was showing it, and people didn't like what they saw.
Yeah.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.